All right, welcome everybody. My name is Julie Brown. I am a Stampin' Up! Independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and this is actually a class. It is, I sent or delivered kits to those that normally come to my monthly class that were not comfortable coming in person. So this is going to be a lengthy video. So for those of you that are just watching, I just want to pre-warn you, we are doing some really fun cards. We are doing a step card, we are doing a thank you card, and then the last card actually has real water in it. So it's going to be pretty exciting. So I hope that even if you guys did not take my class and you didn't get the card kits, that you will still watch this video and hopefully it'll give you some inspiration for what to do with this particular suite. So let's talk about what suite we're using. So we are using the Well of a Time suite, and hey Brianna, and I actually used every single product that's in this suite to do these 3 cards. The other thing that if you didn't get my kits and you're wanting to do this, the other thing that you will need to do is go to in your, sorry, let me get this out of the way if I can. In your catalog on page 94, over here to the right, it will show you which colors that you will need. And I did use all of these stamp colors. So there's Calypso Coral, Bumblebee. So for those of you in my class, hopefully you did some of the pre-stamping ahead of time. But today you will need Granny Apple Green, Just Jade, Pool Party, and then Pacific Point is another one, and Blackberry Bliss, and Night of Navy. So those of you that are doing the class with me today, make sure you have Night of Navy as well. So anyway, like I said, this is the suite. The suite comes with the stamp set, the embossing folder, the punch, all of the paper, and then the sequence. So we're doing 3 cards, and we are actually using every bit of, oh, and the ribbon. Sorry, forgot about the ribbon. We are using every bit of this. So let me move this out of the way, and let's get started. So a lot of the stuff is kind of pre-done, or like I said, I gave some instructions to those that are in my class. So they pre-did some stuff. So I'm going to kind of talk you through what you need for the first card, and then you will actually have to do this on your own. So you're going to need, I use Pacific Point as the base. So this is the first card that we're doing. So for those of you that have my card kits, it's the one with the very long Pacific Point. It is 5.5 by 8.5. It has been cut and scored with a die cut, but I'm going to go over the instructions. Okay, so you guys couldn't pre-do everything. Okay, that's fine. We can do that together then. It'll take a little bit longer. So anyway, you're going to need this, and then in your kit you should also have, and then if you're going to be making this outside, this is what you'll need. So you're going to need a 4 by 5.25 Whisper White piece. And then you're going to need it's about a 2.5 by 4 Whisper White piece. And then I cut up some of the Designer Series paper. So I wanted to use the jellyfish. And these jellyfish are 1 7/8 by 4 1/8. Okay. And then you should also have in your kit a piece of the swimming fish in the seaweed that is 1 7/8 by 4 1/8. And then you should have 3 smaller pieces. So there should be, I don't know if you guys have the one with the crab on it, but you should have one that is 7/8 by 3 1/4. Then you should have one that is 1 inch by 3 1/4. And then you should have one that is 2 by 3 1/4. And then you should have an extra Whisper White piece that is 2 by 3 1/4. And then you should have a whale that is punched out already. And then you should have, I did this with the layering circles, and so it's a scalloped one. Okay. Okay, so since you guys didn't do the pre-stamping, I'm going to do the pre-stamping, and then there's going to be a lot of things that we have to cut out in this, and so I'm going to let you guys do some cutting out while I explain. So what happened is a friend of mine got me this really cool die that actually cuts and scores these step cards. But we're going to do the stamping, and then for those that are watching that aren't in the class, I'm going to show you how, if you don't have the die, how you can still make the step card. All right, but first let's do the stamping since you guys have not done that. So the first color and the first thing that we're going to stamp, so you're going to need your, let's see, you're going to need your stamp set. And the first thing that we're going to stamp on here is the whale. And let me get a block. And the whale is actually, because I thought I put it in the instructions for you guys. I'm sorry if I didn't, but I thought I had actually put all that on there, like what color and stuff that you needed. So I will do this really quick. Okay, and I'm not seeing Carol on with us yet, so hopefully she'll get on, because I have 3 of you that are on the online class. Everybody else came. So on this sheet, you're just going to stamp this in the Blackberry Bliss. And I did it up in this top corner because I need to cut the whale away from everybody else. Because the whale, there's a punch to punch the whale out. All right. And then, okay, so then we're going to do, and I just did them in different colors, but I did both of the seaweed. So for those of you that were wondering which seaweed that I used, I actually used both of the seaweeds. So there is a bigger one, which is this one. And then there is a smaller one, which is this one. All right, and so basically what I did, let me pull the turtle out so I can get that. I kind of did my bigger pieces first, just so I could get that out of the way. And then I did my turtle up here next to my whale. All right. Let me clean that off. And then I did the seaweeds in the 3 different colors that go along with the suite. So I'm going to bring in, and I'm going to do a large and a small of the Granny Apple Green. All right, so I'm bringing in my Granny Apple Green. And I'm going to, and I'm just making sure that I'm leaving just enough room between all this stuff so that I can fussy cut this out, because unfortunately we do have to fussy cut it out. Okay, so I did it in the Granny Apple Green, and then I'm going to do it, the next color that I'm pulling in is Pool Party. Of course, I'm going to have to clean my stamps between each one. Alrighty, so now I'm going to do a big and a small in the Pool Party. And then I'm going to bring in my little one here. All right. And then the last color that I'm using is Just Jade. And if you guys don't have Just Jade, Pretty Peacock will work if you have that color, or anything that's kind of a turquoise color. So here's the Just Jade. And I'm going to bring that one in, and I'm going to stamp it. And then again, I'm going to get my little one in there. And then I used Pacific Point, or actually I'm going to do my coral first. I know you guys, some of you are saying you've already done the coral and the whale, but I'm just going to show you what I did. And you may not even want all of these pieces when you start to put this first card together, but it's better to have more than less. So then I'm going to bring in the coral, and I did a couple of these in the Calypso Coral. And then I'm going to do one in Bumblebee. Alrighty. So let me bring in my Bumblebee ink. And I'm going to do this one in my Bumblebee ink. And again, this is very subjective to the colors that you like and that match with, you know, this paper that we're using. So, you know, it's really nice that we had such a variety of colors that actually match this set. And then I'm going to do 3 seahorses, and those are going to be in Pacific Point. All right, so let's get rid of this guy and bring in my little seahorse. And I'm just going to kind of fit the seahorses kind of wherever I can. And not close to the whale because I'm fixing to cut that whale away from the rest of the paper. So I'm just going to kind of pick some spots to put that seahorse. Okay, so when you're done, this is what your sheet should look like. So you should have 3 large and 3 small in the 3 different greens of the seaweed, 3 of the seahorses, 3 of the coral, 2 in Calypso Coral, 1 in Bumblebee, and then in Blackberry Bliss you need your whale and your sea turtle. So that should be everything that is stamped on this page. And then unfortunately most of this we do have to fussy cut out. And so I'm going to let you guys start doing that. But before you do that, you want to cut away the whale. So what I mean is you just want to cut that away from the rest of the sheet because you don't want to punch that whale out while it's attached, because the whale punch has some different pieces that punch out with it. And so you don't want to, if you used your punch with it attached, then it would cut and mess up your other stamped images. All right, so I'm just going to cut around the whale and leave a little tail over here. And then I'm going to bring in my punch, my whale punch. So here's the whale punch that comes with this set. And I'm just going to stick this in here and get him lined up the way I want him. Oops. And then I'm just going to punch him out. And then all the other pieces I don't need. All right, so for those of you that are in the class, you're going to be spending some time right now because you will need to be fussy cutting everything else that we stamped. Okay, and so when I'm talking about fussy cutting, I'm just going to be going and leaving a slight white edge around. And I kind of wanted to show you this one just because I had ladies in my class that were really trying to cut more detailed out, and I'm just kind of trying to go around the main pieces. You don't need it like completely detailed as far as your cutting, especially around like this coral. A lot of ladies kind of went in. I didn't do that. I just kind of stayed around the outside edge and fussy cut it out. but I just kind of wanted to show you. Even like with this coral, I actually had someone in my class that was trying to cut these little pieces on the inside, and I'm like, no, 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 you don't need to do that. I mean, I guess you can if you want to, but so basically that's kind of how I fussy cut those out. See, I'm still leaving quite a bit of white in there, but I did want to show that. And excuse the blue, I just had a class right before this, and I made a mess of myself. So then when you're done, you should have a pile of all the little pieces that you cut out. So I'm gonna allow you guys to give you guys some time to cut that out. And while I'm doing that, I wanna explain about the cut, and especially for those of you that got my directions. So if on the directions, it actually, you'll notice there's 2 different sizes, and I'll bring this in, but I've got stuff all over it. So on the directions for this card, that you'll see over next from layers 1 until layer 6, there's 2 different sizes for the cuts. The first size are the cuts that I used with this one because I used the die. The second size is if you have to cut your card base by hand, which is what I'm fixing to show you how to do. So let me kind of show you what I'm talking about. So this is the die that I used for my class. And so your 5.5 by 8.5 fits right in the middle. And then when you run this through the die, it actually does all the cuts and all the scoring, which makes it really nice. But not everybody has this die. So I want to show you with the same 5.5 by 8.5 how you can use your cutter and you can still make yourself a step card base. And I just kind of want to show you guys how that works. And so basically you're going to take your 5.5 across the top. Now those of you in my class don't need to do this. It's already been cut and scored for you. So you're going to take your 5.5 and you're going to put it in here and make sure it's at the top. Then you're going to move over to 2 3/4. And then what you're going to do is you're not going to cut all the way up and down, but you kind of have to know, like, you're just going to kind of do a small cut more down towards the bottom and then just go a little ways up, not all the way up. This isn't the full cut. We're going to come back in and do the full cut in just a little bit. And so then you're going to find that you have this little piece in the middle. So it looks like it's pausing on you guys. So let's see where we're at. I hate it when it does this. So, dang it, guys, I'm so sorry. Let me see if I switch it. So sometimes if I switch it to me, hey, Carol, I've kind of already started, but we are having some issues. So sometimes if I switch it, it will actually come back on. This is not the class that I wanted to have problems on. So let's see. Can you guys, if you guys can hear me, let me know. And I apologize me looking back and forth, but I'm trying to get, because it looks like my internet got paused here. And I'm trying to see if I can get back on. So if you guys can hear me, type in something. Okay, so you can see me. Great. Well, I can't get on mine. So, okay, so we're good. All right, so let me see if I can get my phone part of this to work, because that's the part that keeps pausing. So you can see and hear me, but unfortunately it looks like my phone is... Okay, so I'm gonna have to reconnect my phone, so let me talk to you guys. So while you're cutting out, and this is, I guess, okay, because you guys are cutting out right now. So I am going to, okay, so now it looks like it's working. So let me put this back up here. Oh, but it's not connected somehow. So it looks like I lost my phone connection. So we're gonna undo that and try to redo my phone. I apologize, guys. This is just, like I said, sometimes using computers is great and sometimes it isn't. But you guys all get to see the process here. Sorry, I can't type in my my password and stuff while I finally found something I can't do at the same time. Type this in and talk to you guys all at the same time. All right. So let's see if it's going to let me log in here. It's showing no internet on my computer, so hopefully my phone is okay. And I don't think it is. So let me reconnect to my phone. Why is it when I have the most difficult cards, that's when this decides to do this to me? Never fails, huh? All right, so now let's try this. I just hate it when this happens. We may have to switch to Zoom for the class. We'll see. But hopefully you guys are still cutting out, so you're good. For those of you that aren't cutting out and are completely bored watching this, I do apologize. Okay, so here we go. So I think we've got my phone back connected. Yay! So let me pull this in. All right. Okay. So let me see if you guys are still here. Hopefully you are. Yeah, Murphy's Law of Card Making. Okay, so can you guys still see me? Is that a yes, a go? So someone say yes, no, maybe. I'm going to try to connect on my computer to a different one. Hopefully you guys are good. Yes, good. Okay, let me just see if I can get my computer part to work. Oh, what a hot mess every time I try to do these, right? Okay, so it looks like we're good to go. All right, so again, while you guys are cutting all of those pieces out, like I said, so this is 5.5 by 8.5. This is if you do not have a die to cut out your step card. You go to 2 3/4, you kind of go a little bit lower, and you're just gonna cut a short little piece. It's not gonna be the full length of it yet, but we just want it, this is gonna be kind of our center guide. Then you're gonna turn it so that it's 8.5 inches long. And then you are going to go to 1 1/4. And this is very important. Make sure you get your cutter blade out of the way. And then you are going to score up to that cut line. So that's at 1 1/4. Then we're going to go to 2 inches, move it to 2 inches. And again, we're just going to go straight to where that cut line is at the 2 inches. And then we're going to go to 3 1/8. And again, we're going to go just to that cut line. And then we're going to go to 4 1/4. And this one, you're going to score it all the way across. And then the last one is at 6 1/8. So, oh, I got to move this. Forgot I have to open my cutter for this one. So we're going to move this to 6 1/8 is about right there. And again, we're just going to go to that center line. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this back around, put it back at 2 3/4. And again, this is only if you have to make this card without the die, which most of us normally do. I have a very nice lady that's in my group that got me this die. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of do that cut line, but I'm basically going to do it from the 6 1/8 score all the way down to this first score line down here. Oh gosh, and I did that. Oh, I must not have had it at 2 3/4 to begin with, so I messed the first cut up. But anyway, so then just ignore that I did this wrong. But I just wanted to kind of show you how that works. All right. So then you will have your, you will have everything scored and cut the way that you need it. So there's the cut in the middle. I don't know if you guys can see those score lines because I did this on dark color. And then it's basically ready to do the same thing that I did, except these are a little bit different measurements. So that's why on your instructions, you have like these pieces that we cut out are going to be a different measurement because this turns out to be different. And I'll show you the difference in just a second. Okay, so if you guys are done cutting out, now we're going to do our folding for this. So I want you to have your smaller side to the left of you, and you're going to do what we call a mountain fold in that center. And then the score line that is directly across from that is going to be a valley fold. Okay, so you have it looking kind of like this. Then you're going to start at this top score line right here, and this one is going to be a mountain fold. So you're going to go ahead, and I kind of burnish these as I go now. Okay, so that one's going to be a mountain. And so now what you're going to do is just do mountain, and we already did the valley. So it's going to be mountain, valley, mountain, valley, mountain. And then that is what gets you to this point here. So let me do that again. We start at the top, and we did the mountain, valley, mountain, valley, mountain. Okay? So does everybody have this folded correctly? Those of you that are in my class, let me know. And then again, it's really important to burnish this. And please, guys, don't go ahead in this class because there are some things that I need to tell you. So I wanted to show you the difference for those of you that are still folding. So this is one that I cut out without the die, and this is the die. So you can see, right, that this is a little bit bigger and smaller here, and then we have longer pieces on this one and shorter pieces over here. So for those of you that have my instructions, if you're having to cut it out on your cutter like I just did, these are the second set of instructions. I'm going to bring that in again just to make sure. So like this first one, we have 7/8 by 3 1/4. Well, if you cut it out on your cutter, it's 1 1/8 by 2 5/8. Make sense? Okay, no one's answering me. Are you guys done with the folding? I don't know if you guys are caught up with me. Okay. I'm hoping that you are and that you're just busy. So this is what it should look like, and it should open and then close. Okay, so now we're going to put some of the pieces on. So we're going to try to lay this down a little bit. And like I said, all these pieces that you have, you guys need to find, it should be the one with the crab if you have a crab. But if you'll notice, these are all different sizes as far as top to bottom. They're all the same length left to right, but top to bottom, we want the smallest piece, and it's going to go on this very bottom section right here. So we're just going to adhere that to that section. All right. So we're just going to adhere that right down here. Whoops, I want that over a little bit more. Okay, and then your next piece, you're going to skip a space. So we have this piece, skip a space, and then this piece right here, we're going to add this next one to. All right, so you've skipped a space. Carol, are you still with me? All right. Okay, so we have our first one on, we've skipped a space, we have our second one on, we're going to skip another space, and then this larger piece is going to go right here. So let's just get our adhesive on here. Okay, so it should look like this, right? So we have our front strip, we have a space, we have our second strip, we have a space, we have the third strip. Then you're going to take your jellyfish, make sure they are pointed the right direction. Do not make them, so, well, I guess it doesn't really matter, but I like my jellyfish with their heads at the top. And then that piece is going to go over here on this left side. All right, so we're just going to use our adhesive. We're going to add that in. And again, we're just going to stick this on there. Okay, so then if you close it, right, this is what it should look like. You can still see this piece a little bit. All right, so that's what it should look like. Now I want you to turn it over, and then you should have this piece with the fish swimming in the seaweed. Again, pay attention that your fish are, aren't upside down. You want them to be right side up, and it's going to go in this piece right here. So it's going to fit in this section here. And then you should have a 2 by 3 1/4 whisper white piece. And this is going to go right here. And this is basically where I did this so that you guys would have a place to sign this card for somebody that you're sending it to. And write, it doesn't give you a lot of room to write, but it gives you a little bit of room to write a little note. Okay. So let me show you the front again. So the front, I mean, if you were to lay this whole piece down, this is what it looks like with all the pieces on it. So you have your smallest strip, skip one, second strip, skip one, the bigger skip, and then even if you had this laid down, then your white piece would go here. This is the back, and then your jellyfish goes here, and the other fish go here. And so then when you close it up, it's going to look like this on the front, and it's going to look like this on the back. All right, is everybody caught up with this point? Say yes. No, I need a few more minutes. Because again, please don't go ahead because there's going to be some things that I need to point out to you. So I'm not hearing from you guys, so I don't know if you are caught up or not. Of course, I am a little bit ahead of you guys, so I do realize that. All right, so Barbara's good. Brianna's good. And I don't know if Carol is good. I am going to kind of move ahead. So Carol, if you're not caught up, it's okay. Just continue to put those pieces on because I'm just going to talk to you about some other things that you were going to be doing. All right. So the whale that you cut out, you're going to go ahead and adhere this whale to the Blackberry Bliss whale that I put in your kit that you cut out. So for those of you, if you didn't get a kit, you will need to cut out a Blackberry Bliss whale as well. And I don't think I talked about having that piece or this piece in the beginning. And then you're just gonna put that, and it basically fits exactly. The reason I'm doing that is because my whale is gonna be one of the pieces that stick up. And so I want to make sure it had a backing to it. And I'll kind of explain that in a second. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to bring in your stamp set. And on this other piece of Whisper White that you have, you're going to stamp one sentiment that says you're kind of a big deal in Pacific Point up here. And then down here, it's going to say, my love for you is bigger than the ocean. And this is all in Pacific Point ink. So let me just bring in this and my Pacific Point ink. Or if you don't have this exact color, you would want a kind of ocean blue color. And you're just going to stamp that one at the top. And of course, I'm going to be cleaning my stamps as I go. That kind of gives you guys time to stay with me. And then I'm going to come in with the one that says, my love for you is bigger than an ocean. And that one is going to be just somewhere underneath that. All right. So you should have both of those stamped. Then what you're going to do is you are going to fussy cut both of those pieces out. I know there's a lot of fussy cutting on this one, but it just, it was worth it. It's worth it. You may not think so just yet, but you will when the card is done. Okay, so then, like I've always told you, I just kind of give this kind of a shape by kind of going around the words and coming in and out, just to give this kind of a fun shape when I'm fussy cutting around words like that. So then I have that piece that is cut out, and now I'm going to fussy cut around this one. Same thing, I just kind of dip in and out just to give it some dimension, or just a neat look to it, because it's not just square or just a circle. I don't know if I could cut a perfect circle anyway. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to attach this saying, and it's going to go onto our Pacific Point scalloped. And I cut this out with the layering circle dies. So for those of you that do not have my instructions, I am trying to make sure that I'm explaining everything. I will be putting, this will be eventually on my blog with all the instructions. Okay, so that's going to go on there. And then we're just going to lay this piece down. and we're going to take this and it's going to go right there in this top section of where the jellyfish are. Am I going at a good speed for everybody? I hope so. Just let me know. And for those of you that do not have my card kits, this is actually a class that you're watching. So the reason that I'm kind of doing more step-by-step instructions is because these ladies have my kits and they're following along with me. So then this other one that we cut out, this one is going to go here. And unfortunately, I think it's going to cover my little crab, but it's going to go right here on the very front. So this, if you open it up, it's this very first one down here. So again, and I'm just using the Tombow liquid glue to adhere this. And the reason why I sometimes use the Tombow glue is because when I'm putting stuff like this where I'm trying to look at where I want it, it gives me a little bit more time before it completely dries to stick it in place. Okay, so it's going to look like that. All right. So am I doing it at a good speed, guys? Okay, so now this is where you guys kind of have to pay attention to what you're doing. Because now what we're going to do is we're going to decorate this level and this level with all of those pieces that you cut out. But you need to remember a couple of things. One, when this folds up, if you have this sticking above, then on the back, it's going to be white. So I'm going to have my whale sticking up. And so I'm probably going to trim this so that it actually fits down a little bit lower for me. But totally up to you guys how you want to do it. But that's just kind of how I want to do it. And then even like these pieces, when you put it here, it still sticks up above. And so, and there's some pieces that, like this whale is definitely going to be what sticks up above back here. But because I backed it, it's okay. It's going to look okay from the back. Does that make sense? Hope it does. Okay, so that's all you're going to do. So now you guys are going to take the time and you're just going to kind of decorate this page. And so like I said, I'm actually going to kind of cut some of this down so that it stays, it still sticks up, but it stays below this top section. So I cut that one down, and then I'm just gonna, and then you only want to add glue to the bottom of this. You don't want glue on the top, because if you put glue on the top, then it's going to stick to the, when this folds shut, it's going to stick to the page behind it. Okay, so I'm going to come in with this seaweed and stick it right there. And then I'm going to keep measuring so that I stay below that top border. And then I'm going to come in with one of my smaller seaweeds that's a different color. And a lot of these kind of blend in because it's the same colors on the, but we were just trying to get stuff that, you know, gave it a little bit of dimension. And so again, I'm making sure that I only put glue on the bottom. And it will stick up over the top of this one, which is okay, right? And that's what I want it to do. And then I'm going to come in with this one. And what I'm going to do here is I want my sea turtle to kind of reach between these two seaweeds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure, I'm going to cut this seaweed down like I did the other one. Just kind of cut it across there. And then I may actually need to come up. So my turtle needs to attach, like this fin needs to attach here. This fin needs to attach here. Let me get closer in so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Okay. And then, so he's going to attach here and here. So I'm going to go ahead and attach this seaweed. And then let me show you how I got my turtle on there. And again, just putting glue on the bottom section. All right, so that's what that looks like. And then with my turtle, I'm just gonna put glue here where he's gonna attach to this seaweed, and then on this fin where he's gonna attach to this section here. So I'm just gonna kind of hold this up because I wanna make sure I have this in place. And then I'm just gonna kind of hold that in place for just a second. Now the only issue that is gonna happen is on the back of his tail, there's a chance that you might have some sticky glue. And if that's the case, if you will just take baby powder, if you will just take baby powder and put over that section, it'll stop it from sticking. All right, so there's that one. And then I'm gonna kind of do the whale, the seaweed and the whale for the back. And again, I don't have a lot of pieces for this. So I think I'm just gonna bring this piece here. And again, I don't want it to stick up over the top. So I'm gonna bring it down. And I still have to, you can see I still have to trim a little bit more because I want it below that top section. And because none of this is gonna be sticking up, I can actually glue this whole piece down. This is just to give it some dimension. So I'm gonna stick this here. All right. And then I'm going to, and like I said, this is your design. So you design this how you want it. And realize they will see the whole thing when they open it, but a lot of what's down here gets hidden. So I don't do a lot of stuff down here. I'm doing more of my decoration up towards the top. So then I'm gonna bring in a little seahorse. So here's my seahorse. And I'm gonna stick him up in this corner. And because he doesn't have a back, I don't want him over the, over the top. But you can see that when I close that, you can still see the seahorse over here behind that turtle. And then you can still see the seaweed coming up, which looks pretty cool. All right. And so then my whale is going to be the one that really sticks up. So I'm only going to put glue on this bottom section of my whale. And then I'm going to stick it to where he's sticking quite a bit up. Sorry, I've got this on close up, so I apologize if I keep getting out of the camera. So again, when I close this, I can see my whale and my turtle. And then from the back side, because I put that cover on the whale, it still looks cool. Now, if you wanted to do your seaweed higher, you could, and then you could see how, and then you could color it with, you could color, like if my seaweed, let's say my seaweed was sticking up like this, I could come in with markers and actually color that, if that's what you want. Okay, so then I'm just gonna kind of close this down because now that I have my guide, I kind of know where to stick things. So now I'm gonna get another little seahorse, bring him up here, and I'm gonna stick him, whoops, sorry, I almost dropped him. So I'm actually gonna attach him to this little portion of the seaweed here. But unfortunately, I put a little too much glue on him. I'm trying to see if I usually have my powder so I can show you guys what I'm talking about. So I keep this little bowl of baby powder, and I have a little Q-tip in here. And so because I put a glue up here on the top of him, now I'm just gonna take my baby powder and rub that down, and so it takes away all the stick. So the same thing over here. where I had some glue there. So it takes away any sticky. So if you accidentally get glue up above where you think it might stick to your card, then that's what you'll want to do, is just put that on there. Now, one of the things that you could do that would be kind of cool, I mean, not when you open it, but you could attach some of these to the back of this so that they come up. But then when it's opened all the way, it doesn't look as good. So just a thought. So like I might want to come in with this one and kind of stick him behind there a little bit. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So again, because it's going to be totally on the base of the card, I can come in with this coral and stick the coral right there. And again, when it closes, you have a little bit of a peek of the coral back from behind there. But you really don't need a lot to make this card look special. So I'm going to add a little bit more because I don't feel like I have a lot of stuff over here. So I'm going to add another seahorse and probably some coral to that section. So we'll put this little seahorse there. And then I'm going to come in with, actually I think I'm going to come in with some of the smaller seaweed. And again, because it's not going to be sticking up off the top, I can put little dots of glue on all of it. Okay, and so I think I'll put this one here. And then I want to come in with one of my Calypso Coral corals. And just, again, just put little dots of glue. And then this one I'm going to place right here. So if they open it all the way, it still like has some pretty design down at the bottom, and you're not leaving anything like big bare spots in it. And then I've got one more coral that I think I'm going to go ahead and put like right here, on either here, I'm trying to decide. Not sure where I want to put that one. I think I'll put it over there. And again, this is all subjective to you and what you like. And like I said, you may not want to use all your pieces, but that was just kind of what I used. So I had you cut out based on what I was using. And then again, I may take this last little seaweed and stick it right there. That would look kind of cool, because then it kind of, I don't have to trim this one down because it's going to actually be attached to the front of the turtle. So I can bring this in here, and then it's going to attach to the turtle right there. All right. So then when I close mine up, that's what it looks like closed, which is pretty cool. And then when you open it, it becomes like a step card, and you can see a little more detail like on the bottom. All right, let me get this to zoom out. Oh, I always go the wrong way. I need to write myself a little note on here. Like squeeze my fingers forward, or like spread them apart, okay? So there we go. So that is all there is to putting that card together. Isn't that fun? It's such a fun look. And this suite is such a good suite to do this step card with. I mean, I know we had to do a lot of cutting out, but look how cool that is. It is just so, so cool. So is everyone good? Again, I know I'm a little bit ahead of everybody, but this card is kind of hard to view from the top, but that's what it's going to look like. Oh, and the sequins. Yes, thank you. I apologize. So to finish this card off, we have the 3 sequins that are in your bag, and you're just going to use the mini glue dots. Thank you, Brianna, for reminding me of the sequence. So I'm just going to take my glue dots and I'm just going to attach a sequence to the glue dot. And then I'm basically just going to put these down here where on the jellyfish page is where those go. And again, grab another sequence. And stick that one there. And again, you just put these wherever you want, where you think they're going to look good. I'm glad you guys reminded me of the sequence. I have a bad habit of doing that. I forget pieces. That's why I have you guys here to remind me. I think I want that one up there. All right. So there's where your sequence went. Makes it nice and shiny. And again, everything that I'm using is from the Well of a Time suite. I'm going to keep reminding you. There is a bundle within the suite where it's the stamp set and the punch. But if you want the sequins and the paper and the ribbon that we're going to be using, then you need the whole suite. All right. So that is our first card. Is everyone good to go on our first card, our first fun little step card? Isn't that fun? I just, you know, the aquatic nature just makes this card look so cool. All right. So our next card is for those of you that, again, are in my class. It's the number 2 on your list. And it will be the one with the Just Jade in it. All right. So Barbara, are you good to go? So I'll wait a couple seconds and wait for you guys to, everyone to get caught up, because I don't want to move ahead and have everybody missing what we're doing. All right, good. So now in your next kit, it's going to be the one that has this in it. So let me go over what's in this kit. All right, so you have obviously your card base, which is 5.5 by 8.5. And then you have a Whisper White piece, which is 4 by 5.25. And then you should have a piece that I used. So part of this suite is this really cool embossing folder. Okay, I'm just going over what's in the kit. So go ahead and take a potty break. So this is the embossing folder. It's a really cool embossing folder. And for those of you that got my kits, I already embossed it for you. See, and this is on Night of Navy. Isn't that cool? And then you should have a piece of the Designer Series paper that has fish on it. All right. And then you should have a piece of ribbon. Again, all of this is from the suite. I'm going to put that back up while I'm going over all the pieces. All right. And then you should have a little bag. Now, you guys can see this on mine. In this bag is this little tiny blue dot. You need this, so don't lose it. All right? Don't lose that little dot. So Brianna, let Barbara know. Don't lose the little dot. All right? And then you guys all know I have these fun little, I think they were called tiny trays. And so even if you have like just a little bowl at home, anytime you get my kits, you should pour everything in the kit, and including that little tiny, see how that eye is trying to stick in there? But I need that eye. So I'm going to pull this out. Oh, now he's under my nail. Ah, Seriously, it's stuck under my nail. All right, hold on. Oh my goodness, come on. Well, this is giving anyone who needed a potty break some time. That was funny. Okay, so there's that little tiny eye. All right. So in that bag, you should have had the blue cutout of a whale, and then you should have a piece that looks like this, a piece that looks like this, 3 sequins, a splash one, and then you should have 2 little shells, which I may be missing one. Oh yeah, so you should have 2 of these little pink shells. I don't know if you guys can see that. Will it focus? Maybe. All right. So I'm going to set that to the side. So we're going to kind of do our stamping first. And then you should have a piece of shimmer white. And this is 2.5 by 3.25. So for those of you that I didn't cut all the pieces out for you and you're just watching this, let me go over the sizes. So these pieces, so this piece was 2 by 5.25, and then I cut this piece at 2.5 by 5.25. The shimmery white piece is 2.5 by 3.25. And then the piece that I used to cut this whale out would be 2.5 by 2.5. And then you'll also need the same size in balmy blue. So you'll need a Pacific Point 2.5 by 2.5 and balmy blue 2.5 by 2.5. And then you need the Whisper white piece that is 4 by 5.25. All right. So again, same suite. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to stamp on our 4 by 5.25. So you're going to need, out of the stamp set, I just love it when I lay things down and I lose them. So out of the stamp set, you're going to need these little fish. So you're going to need this stamp. All right. So we're going to bring that fish in, and we're going to use Pacific Point. I have such a problem saying this ink. It's like a tongue twister for me. And we're basically just going to go across the bottom of this page. Okay. So we're going to make it going across this. This is my bottom. And I'm just going to take those fish, and I am just going to go across the bottom like that. Okie doke. Then we are going to keep our fish out. And we're going to bring in our shimmery white piece. And I'm gonna bring this in so you guys can have a better background. And then this time I'm gonna use the stamp that says "Thanks a ton." Same, I'm still using Pacific Point. God, I can't say that. Oh my gosh. And I'm gonna put this on a block. And I'm gonna try to line this all up. I can actually see through my silicone mat so that I can line up my paper to the graph paper. So we're going to take that and we're going to stamp this kind of in the center on the bottom where it says "Thanks a ton." Then we're going to come back in with our fishies. And we're going to go right above the "Thanks a ton" with these fish. And it's really important that we keep this pretty low down, because we're putting something on top of this, above the fish. Okay, so it should look kind of like that. Let me clean my fish off. Then you're also going to need this little bubble stamp, and keep the bubble stamp and the fish stamps out and on blocks, because we will be using these for the next card that we do. So just keep those on blocks once you have them out, if you have enough blocks to do it. If you're using the Stamparatus, you could still leave it on one of your plates. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of use this whale as a guide, and I'm going to kind of stick him right there, and then I'm going to come in with the bubbles and say, okay, that's where he's going to be. So then I'm going to kind of put the bubbles right there. Now these bubbles will end up being covered up quite a bit, but I just wanted to get them on the page because I think they're cute. And then the next thing that we're going to do is, with those bubbles, now you're going to need Night of Navy. If you don't have Night of Navy, you can use a black ink here. So now I'm going to pull my little whale off, and I want to give my whale some freckles. Okay, but I'm sorry, before we do that, so I did want to point out to you guys, when you punch out the whale, you get all of these pieces. And so I use, these pieces are kind of the body of the whale. So every time I stamp out my whale, I stamp it in 2 colors. This time I punched out a balmy blue set of all of these, and a Pacific Point whale. So then what I did was I interchanged the pieces. So all of the little pieces, so all of these pieces and these pieces I used in balmy blue, and then I used the Pacific Point whale. But now I have a balmy blue whale and all of these pieces in Pacific Point. So I have 2 whales ready to go. Does that make sense? Okay, so what we're going to do is, the first thing we're going to do is take this long piece, and you're going to adhere it to the bottom of your whale. And again, I'm just using some liquid glue, and you can probably hear me tapping, and I'm just putting that on. So he's gonna, this piece is just gonna fit on the bottom of the whale, and it goes across the fin. See how it goes? Don't put the other pieces on yet. Yes, we're doing freckles. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to take our Night of Navy ink. Like I said, don't get ahead of me putting all the pieces on the whale, because we've got steps. So now we're going to take our little bubbles, and we're just going to do a stamp right there, and then a stamp right there. And then that's going to put some freckles on the top of our whale. And then also this other little piece here, this is the fin, but it fits like right over this piece here. So let me get this closer so you can see. Okay, so this piece actually fits like perfectly over that other fin, but I want freckles on this piece, so I have to know which side to keep up. So then again, I'm going to take that same stamp and just put freckles on my fin, so it looks like that. Okie doke. So then you can go ahead and put that fin and adhere this fin to the whale. So I'm going to bring that in, and it just fits perfectly over that fin that's sticking out down there on the bottom. Okay, then you're going to want to come in with, we're building the whale right now. Then we're going to come in with that little eye. Remember I said don't lose the eye. And I am putting just like the tiniest of a dot of glue. Let me get this close so you can see. See my little tiny dot of glue? It's tiny. And then I'm going to take my little eye, that little round circle, and I'm going to adhere that. Then I'm going to take my black Stampin' Right marker, and I'm going to use the pen side. See how it has a pen and a brush? I'm going to use the pen side. If you don't have these, you just need to get a black pen. And then I'm just going to kind of touch the center of his eye until I get it the size that I want. And I'll bring this closer so you can see. So see how I put the dot in the center of his eye? Ta-da! All right. Now, we're not going to use these pieces just yet. So now I'm going to take my little whale, and I am going to glue him to the top of this little piece of shimmery white. And I did forget to tell you guys you're going to need Wink of Stella. I forgot to tell you. But this is that's something you can do later. So then I'm going to stick my whale here. And then I'm going to bring in my water. This is kind of this, it's kind of the splash is what this is, okay? So I'm going to bring in the water splash and glue that on. And I kind of want to see some of the bubbles, so I'm kind of trying to do the splash on the other side of the bubbles. So you have that piece, and then you have another little tiny piece. And this one is, it's the other part of the splash, so it goes like that. And I'll bring these closer and show you in just a second so you can see how they go. There. Okay, so that's how the splash goes on. See how I kind of wanted to see the bubbles, so I did my splash on either side of the bubbles. So that is how that's supposed to look. Then what you're going to do is the two little pink shells that were in your bag. They look like this. I'm going to take a glue dot and I'm going to put one of these shells in the bottom corner of this piece of this sheet right here. And I'll bring it closer so you can see. Okay, so then those just go popped on the bottom down there. Like so. So this shimmery white piece, all of this goes on that. I'm not going to put my Wink of Stella on this until I have it on the card. Okay. So is everyone caught up to that point? Because next we're going to be working with these two pieces. Are we good? I know I'm a little bit ahead of you guys, so I'll wait just a second to make sure everybody is good. So let me know. So I'm sorry, these will be separated. So these are the two pieces that we're going to be working on next. So if everyone can let me know when you're ready. I don't want to get too far ahead of everybody, because the point of card making is to have fun and be relaxed. And so I want to make sure that this is a relaxing experience and that we are all good to go. And so Carol, are you doing okay? I'm not hearing from Carol. Okay, I'm assuming that she's probably either got her head down working or she doesn't want to type and tell me what she's doing right now. Okay, so now we're going to work with these two pieces. What we're going to do is we're going to attach them together before we put them on the front. Now, because I cut this one, and mine are actually cut at exactly 2, so I kind of messed mine up. So what you're going to do is you're just going to put a really like thin, like you don't want big blobs of glue here, but you don't want it to be like really thick, because you're just going to barely overlap these two pieces. And so yours, I believe, measure the correct measurement, so you have a little bit more wiggle room to make this work. And then what I'm going to do before I push that down completely is I'm going to put it on my card front and still make sure that it looks like I have it the right distance that I want. So like this one looks a little lower on this side. But especially if you have a 2.5 inch piece, you want to make sure that you still have this outline when you're going to, but don't adhere it yet. Okay. Then I'm going to take, once I've got that glued together, I'm going to turn it over. Going to bring in my glue dots, and I'm going to do the glue dots so that it's overlapping both pieces. All right. So it's touching both the bottom piece and the top piece. And again, this is not, the paper does not come like this. I ran it through that embossing folder. All right. And then I'm going to come in with my ribbon, and I am going to stick it down on the back of this and then wrap it around the front. And stick it like so. And then you want to, however you put this on the front of your cards, you want to make sure that your fish are swimming up. So some ladies actually adhered the fish to the top and instead of the bottom, but I did it this way. And I had somebody ask me a question on why I don't like fasten my ribbon down. And the reason I don't is because when I'm designing, I will always kind of get to this point, and then because I don't know whether I'm going to stick things behind my ribbon or above my ribbon, that's why I don't ever put stuff under my ribbon. So that's just kind of a good for you guys when you guys are designing your cards and you want to get ribbon and you've got to this point and you don't really know what to do now. If you don't put any adhesive here, it gives you more flexibility to whether you want to push pieces under the ribbon or leave them on top of the ribbon. Just kind of a little hint there for when you're designing. So now we're going to adhere this to the card front. That's just a tip that I picked up because there were so many times where I would put the ribbon on and I would adhere it all the way down across the front. And then I would think, oh, that would have been so cool if I could have pushed something under the ribbon instead of putting it over the ribbon. So just a thought. So now I'm just going to try to get this straight and lay it down. All right, so we should be to this point. Then we're going to use Stampin' Dimensionals, and I'm putting one on each corner, and I'm going to stamp this up right here. Now, if you like your fish better on this side than you do on this side, you can absolutely move it to this side, all right? Which I'm kind of looking to see, do I want to see the coastal cabana fish, or do I want to see the bumblebee fish? So it's totally up to you which side that you want to put those on. And I believe I left all my Stampin' Dimensionals over at my other station where I was teaching my class. So let me pull some out. So I'm going to get some Stampin' Dimensionals, and I'm just going to put one in each corner. I don't use a ton of Stampin' Dimensionals as long as I feel like it's going to stay supported. Then I'm good. I know there's people that love like tons of Stampin' Dimensionals. I'm not one of them. So I never use a ton, but you know what? It's what you want. If that's how you like it, then put more on there. And then I'm just going to kind of center this top and bottom the best that I can. All right. So that's going to go like that. Then we have these 3 little sequins, and they're going to go onto the seaweed, the embossed seaweed piece, again using glue dots. So I just kind of randomly stick those down wherever I feel like I want them. So then that one's going to go there. Okay. So Carol says she's going to have to watch the rerun because her phone is not working right. So, okay. No worries, Carol. All right. So there we go. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and before I put my Wink of Stella on, I'm going to take this. This is the inside, and you'll notice I don't have a sentiment in here because I don't, if it's a thank you card, I don't always put a sentiment in because I kind of want to write my own note. Now, with that in mind, the new Ornate Thanks that's in the new catalog has a lot of really cool sayings for thank you cards. So I will probably start really using those because they pretty much have a thanks saying for just about any thank you card that that you would need. So, you know, bear that in mind. I'm going to bring it in and kind of show it to you. So this new Ornate Thanks, so it has thank you from the bottom of my heart. I wasn't sure how to thank you. Just wanted to say thank you. Thank you. You made my day for all your help from all of us. Your kindness is so loved for everything. So this is kind of a really cool thank you set because you could use this for just about any card that you want. All right, so we've got the front and the inside. And now we're going to bring in our Wink of Stella. Make sure you shake her up. And then I am going to completely Wink of Stella this whale. His fins, this balmy blue section. I'm going to put Wink of Stella on the whole whale because I want him to look like he's in the water and he's shiny. And then I'm also going to Wink of Stella the splash because the paper is the shimmery white. So it already has the shimmery, but I want to make my whale shimmery as well. So let me bring that closer and see if you can see See how cool he is when he's all shimmeried up? So fun, huh? Okay, I'm gonna pick up some of my stamps and put them back where they go so I don't lose them, and I'll leave that there so you guys can kind of see the front of it if you're still finishing up this card. Alrighty. Ah. So remember I said to keep the fish stamp and the bubble stamp out because we're going to need it on our next card. All right. So are we caught up, ladies? Are we good to go? Again, I realize I'm a little bit ahead of you guys. So again, I'm just going to show you the front and the inside of this card. And like I said, you could put a stamp in there. Like this one says, thanks a ton. And then I could have brought in this stamp set, the ornate thanks. Thanks a ton for everything would have worked, right? Thanks a ton for all of your help would have been another one to stamp inside of this one that would have worked really well. So any of those would work good. All right, so are we good? Not yet. Okay, I will keep talking while we're looking at this beautiful card. And actually, I'm going to bring in the first one we did just to kind of show everybody where we're at so far. So we've done these two cards. Oh, you need a Stinkawella? A Winka Stella. I can't believe Brianna does not have one of those. Those have been like her favorite things. Okay, so these are the two cards that we've done so far. This is the step card. And then this one here. And it, like I said, if you don't have your Wink of Stella right now, you can set this card to the side and put the Wink of Stella on later. But I do want to, again, show you a close-up of how cool that looks with the Wink of Stella on him. He looks like he's wet. Isn't it fun? So, all right, I'm gonna get ready for my next card. And it's okay if you guys are still working. All right, but I do wanna, because I am videotaping this for other people, I wanna make sure that we're moving forward. All right. So for this last card, I'm going to go over the pieces that you need for the card. And I'll kind of keep this one over here for those that are trying to finish this one. Oh, okay. So you guys are good. All right. So let me move that one. Okay. So the last card is a Granny Apple Green. And this card, I cannot stress to you guys enough. Do not move ahead of me. Okay. This card isn't hard, but if you don't do these steps the way they need to be done, then you may be tearing your card apart, which is never fun. So we're going to have a Granny Apple Green at 5.5 by 8.5. You know what? I'm still, oh, I did it the wrong way again. I'm still too close in. Sorry, I'm trying to get this so you can see my whole screen. What is going on? There we go. All right. Okay, and then you should have, this is a piece of the Designer Series paper, and it was 4 by 5.25, and I cut out, and I believe I used, let me pull in the layering circles, so for those of you that need to do this yourself. So here's our layering circles. I believe it was this biggest straight, yeah, the biggest straight edge circle. And I cut that out. All right. Then you're going to need, oh, that's where that went. You don't need that piece. Then you're going to need, this was a Whisper White piece, and I believe this was 3.5 by 3.5. And again, I used the biggest die here, And then out of this section, it was the second. So it's the third largest circle. So I use these two dies and I cut this out. And so then I'm left with a circle frame, and you need both of these pieces and the inside of the circle. Okay, let me get this out of the way. All right. Then you're going to need a piece that is 4 by 5 1/4. And then you're going to need a piece that is 3 3/4 by 5. And then you're going to need a piece that is 2 1/2 by 2 1/2. So we're going to do our stamping first on this. So on the 4 by 5 1/4, this is going to be the inside of our card. All right. And so we're going to use I'm going to quit using this ink because I can't say it. Pacific Point. And we're going to come in and we're going to bring in our turtle stamp. And I'm just going to take him, ink him up, and just put him in this corner down here. All right, so he's going to be stamped right down there in that corner. Then I'm going to get the saying out of this set that says, hoping all your birthday fishes come true. Birthday fishes. How cute is that? So I'm going to bring that one in and stick that on my block. Again, you know how I line this up with my graph paper so that my paper is straight. It gives me a better chance of getting this straight when I'm not using my Stamparatus. Okay, and then that's going to say, so this is on the 4, and it's really important that you do not do this on the 3 3/4 by 5. This is the 4 and 5 1/4 piece. The larger of the two white pieces. Okay, then I'm going to come in with this was the 2 1/2 by 2 1/2, and I'm going to bring in my whale stamp. I don't know if he'll fit on this one. Let me see. Yeah, he will. Okay, going to bring in my whale stamp, and I'm going to, same color, Pacific Point. And I'm going to stamp him on there. And then I'll be punching him out in just a minute. And then I'm going to come in with that saying that says, you're kind of a big deal. And that is going to be stamped onto the inside of the circle. So don't throw, you can always remember that when you're having sentiments that you're going to be cutting out and stuff, and you're cutting out like a frame like I did here, that you can use the center of this instead of just scrapping that. You can just use it to put your sentiment on, and then we'll be cutting this out. So always keep that in mind. You're going to have all these little pieces that you can do things with. Okay, so that's most of the stamping for now. And again, this is the card that it's really important that you do not get ahead of me. Like I said, it's not that it's a highly difficult card, but the steps are extremely important. Oh, I'm sorry. If you guys don't have any, you're going to need some Scotch tape. I should have told you guys that. Oops. Yeah, you're definitely going to need some Scotch tape. So I hope you have some sitting around. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring in our daubers, and that was on your list. So if you read your list, you knew you were gonna need Scotch tape. So I'm gonna bring in my Granny Apple Green, and I'm gonna bring in my dauber. And you guys all know me, I have everything labeled. So I have my little Granny Apple Green. And then I am going to take this circle frame and I am going to just daub it and color it. And I want it to be kind of dark. So I'm just gonna kind of keep going around the circle until I get the level of darkness that I want. So I'm just gonna kind of daub it, and then I'm gonna spread it. Okay. And this is our water card, guys. This is the one that we're using real water with. This is gonna be so much fun. Oh, so yeah, so you guys are gonna need a, you're gonna need some water, like a glass of water, and then something really small to get the water out of the cup, like a very small spoon. And if you don't have a small spoon, I'm sure you'll be, once you see what I'm doing, you'll be able to make this work. All right. Okay. So that's going to be colored like so. Then what you're going to do is, this is the front, this is the back. You are going to lay it with the front facing down, and then you're going to take your little circle and you're going to face it down so that you're seeing the white side, and you're going to fit this, and you want this to be snug, and you don't want to see a lot of space around this outside edge. And this is where you're going to bring in your Scotch tape, and I'm only using 4 pieces. I'm going to put a piece on the right side, I'm going to put a piece on the left side, I'm going to put a piece on the bottom, and I'm going to put a piece on the top. Now the piece on the top, it's okay if it hangs off the edge, because then when I pick it up, I can turn it over and I can trim that tape off. Because it's better that it goes over the top. You don't want it to hang down into this section at all. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple of glue dots, and I'm still working from the back side, and I'm going to place a glue dot about an inch above the bottom edge on each side. I think that one was a little bit higher. And then I'm going to take my ribbon and I'm going to attach it in the back, wrap it around the front, get it straight, and then attach it in the back. Now we're not going to be working with this piece for a while, so I'm going to set it to the side, but set it face down because these glue dots could cause this to stick to something. Then I'm going to actually go ahead and trim my ribbon right there. Okay, so you should have, it should look like this. And then here's your ribbon across the bottom. All right, so has everybody completed that step? Hopefully the answer is yes. Okay, so again, I'm just gonna set this to the side and I'm gonna do it face down so that this doesn't get glued to something. All right, are we good to go? Do we still need to see that piece? I'm still waiting on you guys. So should I do the Jeopardy music? Do 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 do. I'm gonna make you crazy, aren't I? Okay, I'm gonna bring this in because I want to go ahead and get these other little pieces out of my way. So I'm gonna bring in my whale punch, and if you don't have the whale punch for this card, you could just fussy cut this out. But I'm gonna just stick him in here. And I didn't give you guys a lot of wiggle worm with this piece. So you just kind of, as you can see, I kind of use my thumb to get it lined up. And then I'm just going to punch him out, stick him in my little bowl or whatever I keep all my little things in. And then I'm gonna go ahead at this point. Oh gosh, I didn't tell you guys this. So I hope that there was a bag in here with sequins in it. I hope you did not pour this out. You need to pretty much not touch this bag as much as possible. I should have told you that at the beginning, and I'm so sorry if you poured it out. Okay. So now we're going to fussy cut out this word or this sentiment. I know, can you guys believe me fussy cutting so much? Something's gone wrong in my brain, I'm telling you. I used to hate cutting anything out, and now it just doesn't seem to bug me. Okay, so I'm just gonna cut that out and stick that in my little bowl as well. And then just so I don't get it messed up, the inside of the card that we already stamped, I'm gonna bring my card base in, and I'm gonna go ahead and attach this to the inside so that I can then get this out of my way. And I don't have to worry about messing this up that I've already stamped up. That way I can get things out of my way. You blame me for the fussy cutting? I know. I take full responsibility. I don't know what has gone wrong. Because if any of you that have known me, I used to hate fussy cutting. Okay, so you're gonna put that on the inside. So you've punched out your whale, you've fussy cut out this little saying, and then you've put the inside of your card on the inside of the inside. Are we good? All right, and I'm just gonna set that to the side. Now you're gonna bring in this 3 3/4 Whisper White piece by 5, and we're gonna be blending. So you need Granny Apple Green, Pool Party, and Just Jade. And we're gonna do this lightest to darkest as far as like the blue. So I'm gonna start with Granny Apple Green. Then I'm gonna do the Pool Party. Then I'm going to do the Just Jade. So this is the way that I'm doing this. And so I'm bringing in my dauber again for my Granny Apple Green. Now the way that I daub onto a big sheet like this, because I don't want something that looks like that, the dot, I'm going to ink it up, and then I'm gonna start off my page in a circular motion and come onto the area that I'm adding ink to. And then you don't see as stark of like where you're starting and putting it down. So I'm just gonna go across, and I'm only gonna go about a little more than halfway with this Granny Apple Green. All right, so again, I'm just kind of And I'm actually going to add more Granny Apple Green than I am these other colors, because this is kind of my base color. So I'm going to come in and kind of make sure that that's got some good shading in there. All right. Then once you have that covered where you like it, then I'm going to come in with my Pool Party. And of course I have a dauber for every different color of stamp pad that I have. And I am going to go over the top of the Granny Apple Green. But I'm not going to be putting as much ink. So I'm going to come in very lightly with the Pool Party and just go completely over what I just did with the Granny Apple Green. And basically the look that I'm going for is kind of like in the ocean. If you've ever swam under the ocean and you're kind of looking around and the light hits the water, you see these different shadings of greens and blues when you're underneath the water. And that's what I'm going for. So that's about all of the Pool Party that I'm going to put on there. You can see I did not go over it as much as I did with the Granny Apple Green. And then I'm going to come in with my Just Jade dauber. And I'm going to do the same thing, but this will even be less. So it's just kind of putting that deep ocean color in here. And you'll see I always start off the edge. But you'll see how it's starting to blend so pretty. So yeah, and this is just something this is kind of therapeutic, you know, where you're just kind of sitting and blending your colors together. It is for me. I know not for everybody. Sometimes this stresses people out, so. All right, so then that's what it's gonna look like when you've got this done. So I'm going to go ahead and put my inks up while I'm waiting for you guys to say yes, you are caught up to this point. I always try to move my inks out of the way because I am really bad about laying stuff into my ink pads. I don't know about you guys, but it never fails. If I leave one open on my workspace, I set something in it almost every single time. It's kind of, it must be some kind of magnet. It's like, oh, she's left me open. Throw something on top of me. Seriously, that's what happens with me. So let me know when you guys are to this point. So this is kind of the finished. So if you guys are just joining us, we are shading. And we used Granny Apple Green first, then Pool Party, and then Just Jade. And we just blended it until I basically liked the look of it. So it's all about me. No, just kidding. It's all about what I like. But same thing for you. It should all be about the look that you want it to look like. So are we good, guys? Do we have this shaded? So I'm going to kind of move on to the next step because I'm not sure where everybody is, but this is kind of an important step. So we're going to bring in our front piece. And I am just going to, if you can see my bottom edge here, I am just going to kind of place this to where it barely covers that bottom edge. And I'm going to kind of lay this down. And then I'm going to take, I don't really want to take a pencil because I won't be able to erase it. But it's just kind of like, it lets me look at the shadings so I can kind of see what's going to be showing through. Okay. And you can take a pencil, but I'm not sure, and I'll try it because, you know, but maybe if I like just really lightly put it over there and over here, then that just kind of gives me, and I know you guys probably can't see that, but I can actually see those pencil marks. So it's right there, and then the other one is right there. So that just kind of gives me the area that's going to be showing through the front. All right. So go ahead and do that. And then what you're going to do is we're going to bring back in our fish and our bubbles. And we're going to come in with Night of Navy ink. And we are just going to put some fish and the bubbles. And what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to also bring in my whale. And so I have my marks that kind of show me where, like, to keep him inside. So my whale's going to kind of be, because there's that, yeah. And then I'm going to take those bubbles and just kind of stick them right there. And then I'm going to take him out of the way. And I'm going to come in with fish. And again, I'm going to try to stay within that circle because I want the fish to show. And even though the whale's going to be covering some of the fish, I'm trying to get fish to actually show up in this scene. So I'm just going to kind of fill in something like that. So it's gonna, so my page is gonna, and some of this will be covered and you won't be able to see, but my whale's gonna be in the middle, but I wanted to get as close to the center as I could with those fish and with the bubbles. So you wanna get that down. And don't adhere anything, don't adhere your whale, just get everything stamped and let me know when you guys have finished with that stamping. And we'll move on to the next point. And for those of you that don't have my kits and aren't working along with you, thank you for being patient. I know this is kind of long and drawn out, more so than I usually do. So, okay, so is that okay? We're good? All right, so then again, very important, we're gonna come back in with this front piece and kind of, I'm using my graph paper to kind of see how much of an edge I want to leave at the bottom. And then I can kind of like put this right there. So that kind of gives me a good idea of where I want that. And then I'm going to bring in my whale and try to line him up with the bubbles that I did. But I can see that I've kind of left this like with no fish. So this is where you can actually go back if you don't, if you want some more fish, and I do. So I'm gonna come back in and I'm gonna just put one more little thing of fish right there. So this is the nice thing, if you don't get it exactly how you like it, then it gives you the opportunity to re-look at it before you put your whale on. All right, so now I'm going to come back in with my piece, stick this down there, try to keep it straight, and then I'm going to adhere my whale to the piece that I blended, not to the front piece, to the piece that I blended. And, whoa, golly, didn't want to do that. And then you're going to pull these two pieces apart once you get your whale in place. And you're going to, whoops, that moved. And then you're going to set the piece with the whale on it to the side. Okay, so I've glued my whale down. I can remove this. So this is what this piece looks like. And I'm going to move this piece off to the side. All right. So our next step is we're going to again put this piece face down. And now we're going to bring in, and please be very careful with this bag. Don't push on it hard, don't press on it hard. But I'm going to bring this in and I'm going to lay this down so that it just is barely kind of beneath. So the bottom of the bag is just below the bottom of the circle. Okay, so I'm just going to lay that on there, and I think I'm going to bring that in a little bit, and let me move this so you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, so here's my bag, and I'm going to lay it, and I'm going to try to get this bottom edge here just below the bottom edge of the circle. Now I need you, this is very important. Then I gave you some strips, the foam adhesive strips. We are going to put them on here, but we are not gluing down the bag. We are framing the bag, okay? So you do not want to catch any part of the bag when you're laying these pieces down. So I'm going to come in just below that bag, and I am going to lay this piece down, making sure that I haven't glued the bag. Then I'm going to set the bag back in place, and I'm going to run one up the side. Now the problem with the side is I want it to stop about right here, and these pieces are longer than that. So you're going to lay this piece down and then snip this when it gets to about that point right there. Okay, so now I'm going to take another adhesive strip. These are, and Stampin' Up! Sells these. They're the foam adhesive strips. I'm going to peel this one off. And again, I do not want to adhere the bag. I just want to be right alongside the bag. So I'm going to take it until it's about right there. And then I'm going to snip that top piece off. Because I want to leave this gap at the top. Okay, and then I'm just going to slide my bag back where it was, and I'm going to put the adhesive strip on the left side. And again, I'm just going to go like basically snug up to the bag without touching the bag, and then up to the top, and then I'm going to snip that at the top because I want a good width up here at the top. Okay, and then you should be able to move your bag up and down, right? Because you didn't glue it. Then you're going to take one more of these strips and you are going to basically put it halfway between the bottom edge and where your ribbon is lying. So it's going to be about right there. Okay, so are we all caught up so far? So this is that plastic bag that you must be extremely careful with. Now, I did give you guys 2 bags, and the reason I did that is because we're going to be adding water to these bags, and I'm going to have you do a water check on your bag once we add the water to it. And so if your bag leaks, you're going to have to put it in the other plastic bag. So you will have an extra plastic bag in your kit. And the reason I did that is because I ended up having to redo my card a couple of times because I didn't realize that my brand new bag had a little hole in it and it kept leaking water. All right, so is everyone good to this point? So now we're going to move this bag out of the way, and always the wrong way. Let me, oh my goodness. Okay, so now this is very, very important. So now we're going to pull off the tops of these strips so that we have sticky. So make sure you get them all off. And then remember, when we were measuring this, we measured it so that it wasn't we had a little overlap at the bottom. So you're going to take this, you're going to make sure that your wale is at the top, and then you're going to be looking at the back side, and then you are going to just kind of leave that same overlap at the bottom, let it attach to the bottom, and then just lay it down. And then when you turn it over, voila, there's your wale. All right, so again, I kind of knew that that was the overlap that I had left when I was measuring the whole time. So when I laid that down, I scooted it up and then just laid it down. And then you can check this because your bag should slip down between the back piece and the front piece and sit inside. So you should be able to move it up and down. Are we good? So I'm definitely waiting to make sure we're good. So again, you want to make sure that you have plenty where it moves pretty good on this. So I want to make sure everybody's to this point. Oh God, and I hope, again, I hope you guys read the instructions, and I hope you guys saw that you're also going to need, oh, and I don't think I even put that on there. You're going to need tear and tape for this as well. Adhesive might work. I just use tear and tape because this is going to be heavy. Okay, so now we're ready for the water. All right, so the way I did the water, and please watch these instructions first. So I have this little, this is like a little spoon from my grandkids' pretend kitchen. And so I'm going to open this up, and it ends up being about, I'm going to say, a half a teaspoon or a little, maybe 3/4 of a teaspoon. So I'm going to make a wide opening here because I don't want any of the top of this to get wet. So I am going to take my spoon and I am going to pour 1 and then not quite as full 2 in there. And I'm going to kind of try to show you. So you want it, I don't know if you guys can see how much water is in there, but it's about up to, so maybe if I laid it down. So the water comes up to about here. Wait, let me back it with this. There. So the water fills up to about this part right here. This is really important. Now what you're going to do is you're going to close the right side and move it to the left, not closing completely. Very gently, you're going to lay this down and try to push out all the air. Very gently. And then you're going to really make sure, push hard on this seam where it closes and make sure that is shut. Now we're going to test to see if there's any water leakage. So it works on paper. So again, I'm not putting a lot of pressure, but I'm putting a little pressure, and I'm moving this around, and I'm looking to see if I have any water. Your silicone mats might be another really good way to see if water is leaking. And you just want to make sure that there's nothing leaking from this. Okay? And then you're just going to kind of shake. And again, you don't want to push these a lot. You really don't want to mess with these a whole lot. So now, once you have your water in and you have it sealed, the one thing I would suggest is if you think you got water in this top section, take a paper towel and dry this out before you put this on your card. Because any kind of water is going to make your inks run. Okay, so this is really important. So now we're going to stick this back in here. So you're just going to slide it in. And then, yes, it's sticking way up. That's okay. We're going to fold this over as tight as we can, but you have to make sure that you haven't pulled it up in the front, right? So you're going to leave this down, turn this over, bring in your Scotch tape again and fold this over. And again, I don't overdo it with the Scotch tape. I had some people in my class earlier that were really going crazy with Scotch tape. It only takes one on the bottom and one on each side. Okay, so you're going to kind of tape that in place, and then always recheck to make sure you haven't pulled it up so that they can see the bag. And then you're going to take one more of these foam strips, and you are going to place this as close to the top of this white piece as you can. Like push it against there. So I'm going to kind of like put it down, but then I'm going to push and make sure that it's right up against the top of that white piece. Then I'm going to take, oh, don't tell me I didn't bring my tear and tape. Hold on, I gotta go get my tear and tape. That'll give you guys some time to catch up. That's what happens when I have a class right before I do this. Okay, so then we have our tear and tape, and I'm just going to put a strip down the right side. And yes, I know I can tear it, but I'm trying not to put a lot of pressure on this. And I'm going to put one down this other side. And the reason I like tear and tape or red line tape or whatever you happen to have is because it's a little bit stronger. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but when you added the water to this, it just made it a little bit heavier. Now, someone asked me earlier, could you mail this with the water in it? I don't know. I would think that maybe if you bubble wrapped it so that it didn't get punctured, it would be okay. But I'm not going to tell you for sure that you could mail this card. So this might be a card that you want to hand deliver to somebody. Okay, so now I'm going to take this off of that foam adhesive, and then I am going to remove the tear and tape. All right. And again, and what I was telling you about those bags is, you know, I bought those bags at Hobby Lobby. So if this is a card you want to do again, always do the water test first before you add it to your card to make sure there's no leakage, because even brand new bags can have holes in them. Then again, I'm going to make sure that this is my inside, this is my front, and I'm going to lay this down. And I am going to adhere that to the front. Then I'm going to take my thing that says you're kind of a big deal, and I'm just going to take probably my Just Jade dauber, and I'm just going to like basically sponge around the edges to give it a little bit of a highlight so that it looks like that. I just chalked around the edges. And then I'm going to come in with dimensionals, and I kind of want some small ones. So I'm just going to cut these off, and I'm going to put one at the top and one at the bottom because I'm going to be straddling the ribbon. And then this is just going to go right here on the underneath my water globe. Okay, so now I don't know if you guys can see it, but there is water in there and it does move. Isn't that cool? You can see all the sequins kind of moving around in the water. So there you have your water globe card. Isn't that fun? I was so excited to do this for you guys, but I must admit it took me a few tries and I almost gave up on it because my bag kept leaking, and because it was a new bag, I didn't think it was the bag that was leaking. I thought it was something else, and I was totally wrong, and it was the bag. So let me bring in our cards that we did today. So we did our step card, which is so much fun. And then we did our thank you card, and we Wink Estella'd our little whale, so he's nice and shimmery. And then we have our water globe card. Is that fun? I was so excited to figure out how you could put water in a card. So there's our cards for our class. Yay, I know. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. And I do want to put this up because if you haven't put your orders in, we are at the end of the month. So if you're in my group and you need to place an order, that is the hostess code for this month. This is the 25th, so please get it in as soon as possible so I can let our hostess know how many hostess rewards. And guys, please don't forget to check out my Pinterest page and my Blogspot, especially for those of you that weren't in the class and didn't get the kits. I don't know when it will be, sometime either this week or next week, but my blog, I will have a blog on this card with step-by-step instructions. So please make sure that you check that out. All right. And then, I think that's all I have. I do want to just put back up one more time. I used basically everything out of the Well of Time suite. A Well of a Time suite, I think it's actually called. So I had so much fun with this suite. I mean, you can see from the cards, it just makes adorable cards. So I hope for those of you that were in this class and you purchased this, that you're happy with your purchase now, because you can see all the potentials from this stamp set, this bundle, and then you'll consider, adding the rest of the suite to it. So I appreciate everybody's time. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit like on underneath. And if you're watching this on Facebook, make sure you follow me on Facebook so that you'll know anytime that I go live. So I appreciate it. I don't see any questions. Everyone's saying awesome and good and very cool. So I hope you guys like this card. It's so much fun. All of them are, but I was really more excited about the water card. So I hope that this helps you to be creative and come up with some other fun cards to do the water technique with. So I will talk to everybody soon, and everybody have a great rest of the weekend. Talk to everybody soon. Bye.